Hello and welcome back to Blue Flag Bandits, the series that drives F1's worst cars so you don't have to. Basically, driving all of the worst cars in the championship since 2010 using the Codemasters games until the present day, whenever that might be. And you find us at round 5, one of 3 home races we get this season, 2 of which are for the team, one of which is for me. And we come on to this race off the back of not just a silent Bahrain, no idea what happened there, but also a fairly chastening result. I say that. We qualified 19th and for some reason dropped to 24th. Don't know why. Don't remember getting a penalty. Don't remember seeing it. And then, well, we managed to make some ground up in the race. And then we just fell backwards. We finished behind a Caterham, which is only the second time this season we've done that, and the second time since 2010, basically, that we've finished behind one of our fellow backmarker teams. Made a few silly mistakes just with ruined rear tyres. I'm recording this episode before going back and editing the one for Bahrain. So I don't know how bad it's going to be without the gentle hum of cars in the background. And again, I don't know why it decided not to pick up the game audio, but we move. I did toy with the idea of going back and recording it again, much like we did with Monza last season in 2011 when the game decided to boot me out to the next round. Decided against it. So we're going to keep Bahrain as is, keep the result as is, and kind of go from there. And hopefully, having tested before we get into this one, just to be on the safe side, I'm pretty sure it should work. But as you can see, we are 12th in the driver's stand-ins. We slipped further down the order after another no-point score. Pedro Della Rosa 12 places behind us in last place. But at the top end of things, Mark Webber leads by 12, ahead of Hamilton with Alonso third, Grosjean's fourth, Buttons fifth. Raikkonen has moved up to sixth after a couple of good reigns. Rosberg is seventh. Defending champion Vettel down in eighth, with Schumacher and Perez completing the top 10. Then it's Maldonado. Then there we are. Then it's Kobayashi, Massa, Ricciardo, Verne, Hulkenberg, and De Resta, the other point scorers. Bruno Senna now is the top guy with 8 points, as we've now got 18 point scorers this season. There's Kovalainen, Petrov, Glock, Peak, and Della Rosa. And post-race, as you've probably seen if you've watched any of the other episodes, Kantarkayan appears. Still not entirely sure, still haven't bothered checking. If Kantarkayan comes in, if I move to seat number 1 and take Della Rosa's spot, or if I move teams mid-season, which isn't going to happen, that's when he comes in. In the Constructors, it's Red Bull leading the way by 5 ahead of McLaren. Then it's Lotus in third ahead of Mercedes, Ferrari down in fifth, and it's Sauber, Williams. We've slipped to 8th place. Nearly said 6th. 8th place we've slipped to, a point behind Williams now, but still ahead of Toro Rosso and Force India, Caterham and Marussia. And yeah, as I said, unfortunately quite silent episode last time out, but I'm hoping, as I say, not edited it yet, but I'm kind of hoping that I've managed to edit it in such a way that maybe you don't necessarily notice too much. We are so deep into this series that it's quite tough for me to turn around and say, you know what, we're going to re-record that, we're going to just do that round again. As I said back in Monza when that all kicked off last season, that I'm only really going to go back and re-race if there's a problem, like a major problem, like I've been kicked out of the session, like the game's crashed and it's thrown me forwards. Missing audio, while tough, is okay because I'm still talking. I can still cut around when it's action on track. What I might do is just slap some music in the background, and this will be coming out after, and I will have already edited both of them. So I'm saying that because that's currently my plan. But we'll see. We'll see if past me agrees, or future me in this case, or past me when you're watching. Anyway, all of that's by the by. Let's focus on where we're actually going. We're going to Catalonia, a circuit that's been on the calendar since '91 and will continue to do so until 2026. And as I say, the site of our first home race of the season. We are just 3 rounds away from our next one in Europe. That's Valencia, and then the one after that is our personal driver home round at Silverstone. But Catalonia is not a circuit I've done particularly well at so far in this series. Much like Virgin Racing in 2010, Team Lotus in 2011, this car lacks pace, and there's a big long start-finish straight with a DRS zone, where we've got no KERS. We're unlikely to be behind people all that often, so a lot of time is going to be spent watching cars come past us. And yeah, this car barely able to keep up with the Caterhams. I have to push hard to stay with the Caterhams unless we get far enough in front. So it might not be the happiest of homecomings for HRT in what would be the penultimate home Grand Prix as a constructor, obviously retiring or going into liquidation at the end of 2012, so would no longer be on the grid after this. And it would also probably count, I guess, it would definitely be the penultimate home race for Pedro de la Rosa as well, so he's going to be looking to have a good result. Catalonia with the chicane at the end as well, that third section of the track. Not particularly fun to drive. I'm kind of glad they got rid of it and we've got the nice sweeping open double right at the end of this lap like we used to back in the, for me, the glory days, for want of a better term, of F1 in the late 90s, early noughties when I started watching it when I was younger. But enough prattling on about Spain and how we're hopefully going to have like audio in this one of the cars. Let's get into practice, take the HRT around Catalonia, and while we do, we'll talk about the 2012 Spanish Grand Prix. Barcelona was the venue for the first European round of the 2012 season, and it came after a 3-day test at Mugello, which 11 of the 12 teams attended. Only HRT would not participate in the test, instead choosing to open their new HQ in Madrid in advance of their first of 2 home races of the season. Vettel led the Drivers' Championship coming into the Spanish Grand Prix, though there had been 4 winners in the first 4 rounds: Button in Australia, Alonso in Malaysia, Rosberg in China, and Vettel last time out in Bahrain. The practice session saw few incidents. Both HRT cars suffered issues during the first session, while Webber and Perez ran wide through turn 4 in the second. Alonso led the first session, much to the delight of the home crowd, followed by Vettel and Kobayashi. Button would lead the times in the second session ahead of Vettel and Rosberg, while the third session would see a somewhat surprising result, with Pastor Maldonado setting the second fastest time behind the Red Bull of Vettel and just ahead of the really impressive Sauber of Kamui Kobayashi. Qualifying would start with the common sight with Caterham, Marussia and HRT occupying the bottom 6 spots on the grid, joined by Bruno Senna, who spun into the gravel, pushing too hard to make it through to the second stage. Narain Karthikeyan would set a time outside of the 107% time, but he would be allowed to start. The second session saw Felipe Massa once again drop out, continuing his miserable start to the season, while both Webber and Button would also be knocked out in Q2. Button complaining on an unbalanced car, while Red Bull misjudged the track evolution and didn't send Webber out for a second lap. In the final session, both Vettel and Schumacher elected not to set a lap in that final part to save tyres for the race, while Kobayashi suffered a hydraulic leak and was told to stop the car to ensure no more damage was done. This left just 7 drivers to set lap times, and it was Hamilton who set the fastest time ahead of an impressive Maldonado, who took second, with home hero Alonso in third. As Hamilton was on his in-lap, he was told to stop the car to ensure there was enough fuel to give a sample to the FIA, after a refuelling mechanic accidentally drained the tank rather than filled it. Hamilton was summoned to the stewards, who stated the team had broken technical regulations on refuelling. Hamilton was therefore ordered to start at the back of the grid, which granted Pastor Maldonado his first pole position and Williams' first pole since Brazil 2010.
We've lost first, we've been moved down to second place.
Maldonado's clutch would slip off the line. It meant he had to turn right to block Alonso, who took to the grass but kept his foot in and took the lead in turn 1, while Perez picked up a puncture after contact with Grosjean down towards that first turn. Alonso would lead the way through the early laps, but wasn't really pulling away from the Williams of Maldonado in the way that everybody expected. Maldonado stayed just far enough behind to assess where he was stronger than the Ferrari and managed to save his tyres. Alonso would pit at the end of lap 10, gifting the lead to Maldonado while the Ferrari dropped to third. Pastor would pit a lap later than Raikkonen. Both drivers returning to second and third respectively, but crucially, Raikkonen was on the option tyres compared to Fernando and Pastor, who were on the primes. Further down the order, Schumacher was closing in on Senna, but the German attempted a late move into turn 1. He clipped the rear of Williams, folded his front wing under his car, retiring immediately, while Senna eventually retired a few corners later, mostly with underfloor damage and some other bits and pieces. For the second race running, Hamilton had problems at his pit stops, striking a detached left rear tyre, launching his McLaren into the air, dropping him down the order. Pastor Maldonado would be the first to blink for a second stop in terms of the leading cars, coming on lap 25, for another set of the primes after closing to within a second and a half of Fernando Alonso. Maldonado rejoined in third behind Raikkonen, while Alonso found himself stuck behind the slower Mauritian Rochelle Peak, Fernando pitting a lap later than Maldonado. The combination of being slowed and pitting a lap later saw the Williams pass the Ferrari and move to 6 seconds ahead, while Raikkonen stayed there for a further lap. The stewards at this stage of the race issued a few penalties, drive-throughs to both Vettel and Massa for ignoring yellow flags, while Piquet received a drive-through for ignoring the blue flags when he was in front of Alonso. Maldonado would once again be the first to blink of the top 3, pitting on lap 41. The Williams crew struggled putting on the left rear, causing Maldonado to be slightly delayed, but he would rejoin behind Raikkonen in third. He was, however, rapidly closing up to the Lotus, who briefly lead after Alonso took his final stop. Raikkonen had fit prime tyres in an attempt to get Maldonado and Alonso to push their tyres too far, allowing the Finn to overtake later on. Alonso would stay close to Maldonado, getting to within half a second or so of the Williams through traffic, while Raikkonen would close up to the pair. But it would be Pastor Maldonado who came across the line first to take an unlikely victory for Williams, their first since Brazil 2004, their first in 130 races, and a brilliant day for Venezuelan Formula 1 drivers. Alonso would hold off Raikkonen for second, while the points would be completed by Grosjean, Kobayashi, Vettel, Rosberg, Hamilton, Button and Nico Hülkenberg. The celebrations for Williams, though, were tempered somewhat around 90 minutes after the race when a fire broke out in the Williams garage. Team personnel from Williams, Force India and Caterham were able to control the blaze, which was either due to a fuel explosion or a spark from the curves of Bruno Senna's car. Maldonado rescued his cousin from the blaze, while 31 people were injured, though all were cleared healthy after. It's our first of 3 home races, 2 for the team, 1 for me in 2012, and I don't think we'll be pulling off any Maldonado-esque heroics. Pace is as usual an issue, but as long as we don't find ourselves being dropped to last for no reason like Bahrain, we'll be in a better place. We're still not guaranteed to beat the other new teams, so our qualifying aim is going to just be to try and beat them until we have some more pace in the car later in the season. Let's aim for the traditional 19th place. And once again, see if we can somehow force our home car into Q2.
We've fallen to 7th fastest. We don't think you'll have any trouble getting into the next session, so don't push too hard.
In the garage then, for Q1 in Spain, and practice was okay. We finished in our normal position and, once again, a fair distance off the likes of the Toro Rossos and the Williams. But we had a nice little bit of on-track action, which kind of benefited us, gave us a little bit of a heads up as to how the AI are going to be into certain parts of this circuit, much like they were in pre-season and in Bahrain. Actually, break really early into turn one, give me an opportunity that if and when they do go past, when more than if, we can get a dive on them to get out the inside. Team want us to get out of Q1 and get into Q2. I fear that's going to be incredibly unlikely. This car not very fast, and I know it's our home Grand Prix, and I know expectations for the team are high, but my personal expectations are pretty low. I think what we're going to have to do is get out there, get some laps in, and see if we can turn up the power and hope to get through.
You're off the pace in all sectors, particularly 1 and 3.
This is our fastest lap in Q3, and as you can see, already in the drop zone and being told we're off the pace, maximum attack already into turn 1. But we roll through as gently as possible, take a bit too much curb through 2 perhaps, which actually unsettles the rear. But as you can hear, we're having to just feather through 3. The car just wouldn't stick through there, but we are nearly 4 tenths per second up on our best time, but still 7 tenths down on getting out of the first session. Down here into this left-hander downhill, keeping nice and tight to the apex to avoid running too wide into the gravel, something we do quite a lot as we head into the chicane in the middle of the lap. It's not a fun part of the circuit for me, but we managed to drift the car through it. Actually not too bad a condition. Again, just not able to get the car turned in as we go up the hill through 9, and then it's just this long blast to 10. 4.5 tenths up on our best time, but nearly a second down. We know at this point we're definitely not getting through, but we're just pushing at this point to try and beat Vitaly Petrov's catering. Again, just feathering the throttle because we cannot get the car turned in where we need it to be. You can hear the tyres protesting as we head towards the penultimate couple of corners, and then it's just a case of gunning it around the final corner. Is this lap going to be good enough to at least beat Petrov?
Your times
That it
in
is.
sector 3 are a little down, and 1 and 2 are well off the pace.
Another round in 2012 and another Q1 elimination, but this time P19. Ahead of Vitaly Petrov, who we had to kind of fight to get ahead of. Pedro de la Rosa comes in 21st, then it's Timo Glock, Charles Peak, Kovalainen way off the pace. We are still 2.1 seconds off the pace at getting through. Pastor Maldonado, by the skin of his teeth, the Real World 2012 winner, just into Q2, as Kamui Kobayashi joins us in the Sauber. That's pretty disappointing for him, but you can see they're in 16th. Felipe Massa, Raikkonen in 15th, Schumacher in 14th. Those guys having really terrible seasons so far. But you know what? Actually, car felt all right in qualifying once we really got into the rhythm of it. It's just not fast enough, really. I'm sort of weirdly, perversely looking forward to Monaco, where the pace shouldn't be so much of a problem. But it's a long run down to turn 1 here. And we've seen in Bahrain, we've seen in Malaysia, in China, that just concertina through the first few corners, and the fact that the AI do like to have a bit of a fight, has gifted us a fair few positions off the start. Whether we can keep them or not is a very different story. But let's head over to the race, and let's see if we can do HRT proud in their first home Grand Prix of the year. In the garage then for the 2012 Grand Prix of Spain, and the team's first home race of 2, technically 3 if you include my home race, I guess, and P19, and this time we've not been dropped to the back for unknown reasons. The game just decided we wanted to start last in Bahrain. But this hasn't traditionally been the kindest of circuits for us, either in quali trim or race trim. We'll get into all that in just a moment. Let's take a look at the grid order for this one. It's Mark Webber who took pole ahead of Jenson Button. Sebastian Vettel, defending champion, is 3rd. Then it's Alonso, the home hero, in 4th. Raikkonen's 5th with Di Resta, another stunning qualifier from the Force India, in 6th. Hamilton's ahead of Massa, who's finally getting his season on track, hopefully. Maldonado, the Real World 2012 winner, is 9th. Could he do something from back there? Perez in 10th. Then it's Rosberg, Schumacher, Hulkenberg, Grosjean down in 14th. The early season pace setter falling off a little now. Verne, Senna, Ricciardo, Kobayashi. Bit of a surprise in Q1. The Sauber dropping out there ahead of us. We beat Petrov, De La Rosa, the second home hero, Glock, Peak, and Kovalainen. And that's how we line up for this one. And I did say that this place hasn't been kind. Disqualified in 2010. A lap down on everybody in 2010 at the time of our disqualification. 18th last season in 2011, which kind of was all right, I guess, but finishing was just the aim. It's harder to get DQs these days. I say these days in sort of 11 and 12 than it was in 2010. But it's just as easy to get penalties if you're really unlucky. Saw in sort of testing for this season, setting everything up. Not quite the pre-season, but I think just I think it was the race I did for the title credits. There was an ever so slight little bit of contact with, I think, Romain Grosjean going into the Nouvelle Chicane, and I mean slight. I was up the inside. He sort of slowed on the exit, and as he did, he kind of cut back in, and didn't even feel a touch. He didn't hit the wall. He didn't go out. He just sort of slowed, and we got a penalty for it. We got a drive through, which meant I restarted that particular 5-lap race so I could go back and record a cleaner run, because it was all just for the titles. But it is possible in this game to get really simple or silly little penalties for like minor contact that the game deems major if the car slows down heavily or goes slightly off or something. So got to be careful, especially in a place like this where it's lots of open corners that just sort of really come into a tapered point, if you get what I mean. And yeah, we've seen the AI lap 1 can certainly have their own batch of incidents and kind of over aggressive moves, or over ambitious, shall we say. So it's trying to avoid those, I think, through the first few laps, or at least the first lap could prove difficult for us. The team want us to finish 18th, and we managed to come home 16th in Bahrain when I didn't think we were going to do much. 16th doesn't sound like a lot, but when we started last, for whatever reason, and the fact that this car is very, very, very slow, 16th wasn't too bad. We held off Hulkenberg and Ricciardo right at the death. I want to just hit team objective here. Let's try and aim for 18th place. See if we can maybe pick up some places at the start and just try and hold out. Maybe see if the AI, particularly through 2, as we saw in our pre-season race, through 2 on lap 1 there, you've got cars driving off circuit. So we might be able to pick up a few spots from that. If there's any damage, kind of come home a little bit further up the field. But let's get out there, get onto the grid for HRT's penultimate home race of their F1 existence as we head to the grid for the Spanish Grand Prix of 2012. There's Webber. See Vettel just behind. There we are. De La Rosa immediately behind us. Sauber should be rapid off the line, but we've got 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, and 5. And away we go for HRT's home Grand Prix. I didn't think that Sauber would be rapid off the line, but he's been held up by Ricciardo. We have to sort of back out of it and get out the way, so we've jumped Kobayashi, at least briefly, but it's going to be all a bit tight down here. That is tight. We've clipped both Ricciardo and Kobayashi, and we've got cars running off circuit. The AI just sort of stop, dead. We run right off the circuit. Glock's past us. Glock is flying. As De La Rosa hits the back of Ricciardo as he brakes, really scruffy first few corners. De La Rosa's got no front wing, and we're past him, and we dive up the inside of about 5. Rosberg's dropped the 14th, Glock's up the 16th. A really scruffy first few corners of the lap. The AI still struggling to sort themselves out there. We have to take to the Astro. Kobayashi's got half a front wing, that's probably because of me. as we squeeze through a gap that was forever closing down to the turn 1. Rosberg's attempting to go past Senna. It's not worked for him though. Managed to dive up the inside of the German, but he's going to come back at us. Get him into the chicane at the end of the lap. We'll end lap 1 14th. De La Rosa's holding up quite the queue at the back with no front wing after going into the back of Ricardo. Rosberg's going to come surely flying past us. Apparently not. Oh, we get turn 1 all wrong. Managed to survive. Look at the power and the traction the Mercedes has got in comparison to us. Rosberg will be gone and chasing off after Bruno Senna up ahead as we run wide. Glock holding up a bit of a train. There's a clutch of cars in the pits. A couple actually, De La Rosa being one of them. As we have lost too much concentration. We're running wide everywhere. Timo Glock's going to go for the move. We should. Just ain't breaking there. Interesting to see who else got caught up. As Kobayashi has moved past Glock, should easily move past me even with half a front wing.
The race officials have enabled DRS.
There we go. You're not going to go either way. You sit just marginally to one side of the racing line into a corner like that. The AI just, they don't know what to do with themselves. Just about hold Kobayashi off again. The else has passed Glock further back. That's Nico Hulkenberg. I think they've all got past Timo Glock now. We're going to be attacking each other as we head down to turn 1. There goes Kobayashi. Hulkenberg's also going to go.
Front wing damage.
Sticks it on the inside and we'll
Let's try to be a bit more careful with our
we'll go round
We
it.
don't want to be given a penalty. You've been given a drive-through penalty for unsportsmanlike behaviour. Stay focused and box in the next 3 laps.
I was talking about penalties being fairly easy to come by. Swept across. Maybe a little bit abruptly. Kobayashi's round. We've got to drive through. Take the drive through. Glock, Kovalainen, Peak. Ooh, the Marussias actually making contact into turn 1. Ahead of Petrov, Kovalainen's just up ahead of these guys and De La Rosa's at the back. As well, dive up the inside of Charles Peak. And get past him, no contact this time. Not ideal getting a penalty, but I suppose it's given us a little bit of a fight. Block going defensive here. Switch to the inside, we'll get past him. Can we now catch Heikki Kovalainen, I wonder? There we go. going to be on him. I think, yeah, we're going to have DRS.
Our data's showing that the car ahead's likely to be running in fuel conservation mode. His times will be slightly slower than normal.
We've maxed out at the end of the straight. We're on the outside of Kovalainen. We're back up ahead of everybody else at the back. Petrov and Della Rosa. I think Della Rosa's already
gone off in sector 2. We have waved yellows in sector 2.
yellow flags. I think Della Rosa's already being lapped. I wonder who's off. I wonder if it's serious. Well, he's quite a distance up the road from me, and I don't think we're going to catch him. It's been the best home race for HRT so far, but the penalty was justified. I was probably over-aggressive trying to stay ahead of Kobayashi. And I replaced in 2011. He's right on me again now. Run wide there. That's going to invite him in more. Comes with DRS. Defensive, it didn't really matter. But let's not do to Kovalainen what we did to Kobayashi, so we give him a wide berth. And again, much like Bahrain, it's just a case of getting on the brakes just a bit later, and I can just brake them into turn 1. Kovalainen's still with me. I'll be beaten by an HRT. And we are.
We think the car behind is running on full revs. He's trying to close the gap.
Explain why he's so close, as we're actually closing on Pedro Della Rosa to put him a lap down. We'll be coming in into the next one now, so we'll probably avoid that fate for now. Almost certain we're not going full race distance here. Because where the leaders are on the mini-map compared to us. I'm not going to help my cause. Dipping a wheel into the gravel. Back and sort of there he is, Charles Peak. You can just about see him appearing in the back of the shot. Locks there as well. Kovalainen follow us in. One of the Mauritius is going to stay out, because they're not going to double stack those guys. We've got cars in ahead, but obviously far too far in front of us, and we're pitting. Line does follow us in. Which one of the Mauritius stays out? It's Timo Glock, you know. Was Charles Peak that stayed out. Timo Glock came in. Fortunately, we both get held. So Kovalainen doesn't jump us in the pits.
You have no more scheduled pit stops, so look after your tyres.
Supposed to be taking these to the end. We'll definitely finish a lap down, so that's something.
You're on the slower tyre, but you're maintaining the gap to the car ahead, so we're very happy. This is good.
Back up into 19th when
Kovalainen's right behind you.
Flash of blue on the mini-map as well, so cars being lapped. It's all getting a bit chaotic down the start-finish straight. There's cold tyres. It's almost impossible to get turned in. We clip the gravel a little bit. It's going to allow Kovalainen to be on us. Is in. Get back out ahead of the Frenchman.
The car in front front of you has had a new set of prime tyres fitted. Prime tyres.
Yeah, she's
We
ended
think
up
the car
playing
behind
in
is running
18.
on full revs. He's trying to close the gap.
Some distance ahead of me, so it's not going to matter too much. I'd assume Petrov's also caught up to us now with our pit stops. Going early with Della Rosa. I wouldn't be surprised if that was just all a bit of a chain reaction when Della Rosa went into the back of Schumacher? I can't remember now. Whoever he went into the back of lost his front wing. I wouldn't be surprised if Petrov went into the back of Della Rosa.
You need to let the car behind you past. He's not racing you for
The leader
position.
is behind us. It's only lap 16. Jenson Button. Pretty good start to jump Mark Webber. And to be that far out in front.
Blue flag conditions. Let the car immediately behind through. You're not racing him.
Mark Webber will
Vettel's just posted the fastest lap
try
of
and
the
move to the
race.
inside to let him round the outside. Come on, Mark, there we go. Lose a lot of
At the
time
moment,
getting
the gap
laps.
between you and the car behind is 3 seconds.
Okay, I'm just not really sure where they're meant to be going. Might save Della Rosa from falling behind us. Hoping to close in. I don't know whether he's going to have to stop again. That's going to be the thing. If he does, we'll definitely lap him. Let's not forget, through 2011 we've got quite the run from Spain onwards, actually, I think, for most races, lapping our fellow backmarker teams, mostly just our teammate at the time, Yano Trulli, but sometimes all of them. Carter Kay and Liuzzi, Locke and D'Ambrosio, sometimes all feeling the wrath of blue flags to the other Team Lotus car. I guess that's Felipe Massa. I was going to say, I guess that's Fernando Alonso, but Felipe Massa's made it up into third.
You've picked up some marbles. Expect reduced
Good
grip
for
until
Felipe.
you can wear them
He's
off.
had a
Stay on the racing line.
pretty miserable season so far. As I was saying, so far in this season, our fellow backmarkers haven't had to move quietly out of the way for me. Not yet, anyway.
Okay, we need you to make way for the car behind.
Comes Sebastian Vettel. Slow as reigning champion through the corner. I have to really slam on the brakes to not go into the back of the Red Bull. The car behind looks suspiciously like a Williams. Is it who I think it is? It's Pastor Maldonado in 4th place. Real world winner of the 2012 Spanish Grand Prix, which really needs to let him go by because I've got Alonso and Hamilton behind me as well.
Button's just put in a new fastest lap.
And Petrov and Schumacher. There's Paul di Resta too, and Raikkonen. They should just have me on pace here. DRS on Schumacher though, that's nice.
Back up to speed. Wave blue
Right off
conditions
to let
no
Kimi
longer
through.
apply.
So that's everybody up to 11th past us now. Line really got held up, he's got more leaders behind him. The race is soon going to be falling 2 laps down. get lapped by more of the field.
You need to let the car behind you past. He's not racing you for position.
So Rosberg first. Jean-Eric Verne for close company. Staying right on the inside as Bruno Senna comes steaming in, but won't quite get past us there. Right wide, there goes Bruno Senna. Kobayashi, the man in 18th now. And behind Ricciardo maybe as they're... I'd assume they're currently lapping Kovalainen. Which means the cars immediately in front of us in position are going to be immediately behind us on the road very, very shortly. Don't get me wrong, the penalty, the drive-through didn't help, but I do honestly believe that this is our pace here.
Button's just put in a new fastest lap. Blue flag conditions. Let the car immediately behind through. You're not racing him.
Just behind us, that'll be Romain Grosjean, who's had a pretty terrible day. I'd assume it's 16th Grosjean, 17th Ricciardo, 18th Kobayashi, and then Kovalainen will be a little bit further behind them. Immediately off the racing line, there goes Raikkonen. Here comes Ricciardo. Here comes Kobayashi. And we're a lap down to the rest of the field. We will get another crack at a home Grand Prix for the team in Valencia in a few rounds' time. It's also a track full of long straights. So that might not be the happiest of homecomings either. Pushing with everything he's got to close up. Oh, but he's disappeared off the back of us now. I don't know whether he's made a mistake. Okay, don't think Button's anywhere near lapping him. There's Glock behind us now, so I think Kovalainen's out. He must be. We're down to 23. Heikki Kovalainen drops out of this race. I mean, I did say at the start I was hoping for maybe a retirement or two, but not from behind us. Yeah, Kovalainen's gone, pushing maybe too hard to try and catch us. Leaves us a nice gap back to Timo Glock. Going to get lapped by Button soon enough. Definitely going to go 2 laps down.
Okay, DRS back online now. We fixed the problem. Glock's catching you. He's taking a second out of you each lap. Good job. Back up to speed
Button
now.
up a little bit through the first couple of corners as they're trying to move out of his way, but he's on his penultimate lap of the race, which means that we are as well. On to our final lap of the Grand Prix. Well, exactly the last lap wasn't all that great, so Glock is closing. I mean, what else can be said about this race than slow? 2 laps down on Jenson Button, who's flying. Most of a lap up on Pedro Della Rosa, who probably had a more eventful race than we did. He bumped the back of Rosberg, lost a front wing, I think took Petrov with him. Both of them fell way off the back of the field. We were up in about 14th place, trying to defend from Kobayashi, went round the outside into turn 1 and clipped the Sauber. Got a drive-through penalty for the contact. Took that penalty, came out in amongst Glock, Peak and Kovalainen managed to overtake them all out the track. And then for most of this race, we've just kind of been maintaining gaps to the cars behind us. Kovalainen for a long time. He retired a few laps ago. Glock has been closing in as I've been kind of just cruising my way around the end of this race. Jenson Button should be crossing the line. There he goes. Our 4th winner in 5 rounds this season. We'll come home in P19, where we started, but ahead of all the other new team cars. And a fairly uneventful home Grand Prix in Spain for the team comes to a close. We are 19th ahead of Glock, Peak, Petrov and De La Rosa. Kovalainen didn't finish. Only teams to fall even a single lap down, let alone 2. Daniel Ricciardo managed to stay on the lead lap, over a minute behind, but still on the lead lap. With Kamui Kobayashi had a bad start to the day. Jenson Button won comfortably ahead of Mark Webber. Felipe Massa comes home in 3rd, which is a great thing for him after such a terrible start to the season. Vettel pipped Maldonado for 4th place. Pasta, though, getting a great result at the site of his real-world victory. Jenson Button 6th. Lewis Hamilton 6th. Fernando Alonso in 7th. Not a great day for the home hero. Schumacher, Perez and Rosberg complete the points. De Resta is 11th. Raikkonen down in 12th. Then it's Senna, Verne, Hulkenberg, Grosjean, Kobayashi, Ricciardo. And then all of us guys that finished 2 laps down. What does that mean for the standings? Well, Mark Webber leads the way now by 22 points ahead of Lewis Hamilton, who's just 3 ahead of Button. Alonso a bit further back, just ahead of Vettel, who's 5th. Grosjean slips to 6th, just ahead of his teammate. Rosberg's 8th. Maldonado moves up to 9th with a good result ahead of Schumacher. Then it's Massa in 11th. Started maybe a bit of a comeback with Perez 12th. We are 13th. 5 points off Sergio and 3 points ahead of the other sabre of Kobayashi. Then it's Ricciardo, Verne, Hulkenberg, De Resta. Senna still with 8 points, but are still ahead of Kovalainen, Petrov, Glock, Peak and De La Rosa, who's last. Can't decay in there, as we said quite a few times before. If I move to seat 1, he may appear. If not, he's listed because he would normally be taking my space. In the Constructors, Red Bull lead the way by 2 ahead of McLaren. That title fight there is going to be quite interesting this season, I feel. Lotus some ways back, just 3 ahead of Ferrari. Mercedes in 5th, then it's Sauber, Williams. We remain 8th ahead of Toro Rosso and Force India, Caterham and Marussia yet to get off the mark. I didn't think Spain was going to be great. I thought it was going to be a tricky one. The drive-through penalty didn't help, so penalties galore in Spain over 3 seasons so far. But even without the penalty, we were 5 seconds off the pace of the leaders and some 3 seconds off the pace of the cars around our sort of area of the field. The Toro Rossos, the Force Indias, even that rogue Sauber we saw at the start of Kamui Kobayashi, much faster than us, lapped by all 18 cars ahead, twice lapped by Jenson Button. Nobody else fell a lap down. Pretty dismal home Grand Prix for HRT, but we survived and we beat the other new teams, which is silver lining, I guess. Next up, we go from the home race to the Jewel in the Crown race. We head to Monte Carlo for the Monaco Grand Prix. Hopefully you'll join me for that one, because I feel with the AI the way they are in 2012, that may be kind of chaotic. And we might come out of it with something good. Who knows? Join me for that one, though. Thank you so much for watching this episode. Like, share, subscribe, comment, do all the good stuff. You know the drill by now. I'll see you for the next one in the French Riviera. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.